One thing that I did to be held really accountable to the stuff that I was learning in personal growth and development was I would go back to my real estate brokerage and I would teach it. Anything I learned, I'd go back, and even if it was 10 minutes and it was one person, I would teach it because I knew that I had to embrace it and I needed to follow it. So from that, a coaching business was born. And I started coaching real estate agents based on the systems and processes that I was building and using to run my business. I was just giving it away to them for free. And then somebody said, I want more. And I said, well, you got to pay for more.
Welcome to the REI Freedom Podcast, where we unleash the power of real estate investing and empower you to create a life of freedom on your own terms. At REI Freedom, we provide high-level acquisition skills training and coaching to take your real estate game to the next level. Say goodbye to deal cancellations and hello to consistent success. Join us on the REI Freedom Podcast and unlock your potential and claim your freedom in real estate investing.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another weekly episode here at the REI Freedom Podcast. I'm Jeremy Beeland, your host each and every week, and I thank you so very much for listening to our podcast. It still blows my mind how much this podcast has been growing over the years, and you guys aren't sick of me yet, so thank you. It's probably because of the great guests I bring on every week that I know you love. It's not me, so I won't take it personally, but I'm going to bring you another great guest today. He's actually was local on some level, and he's somewhat local on another level, but we're going to talk today a little bit about, or a lot about, his not so local stuff, which is really, really cool. I know this guy pretty well, and some of you guys in our coaching community will get to know him a little bit better as time goes on as well. But for today, we're going to talk about what he's got going on down in the Caribbean. And this is pretty wild stuff, guys. So I'm really excited to share it with you. Today, our guest is Ian Lobas. Ian, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I think it's your Boston accent that keeps them coming back.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's a wicked cool accent. I won't lie, but well, we're excited to have you here, Ian. We were talking a couple of weeks ago about some stuff. You know, you and I chat occasionally, and we've known each other for a couple of years, or at least a little over a year now. And you've done a lot since I last initially met with you, right? And a lot has changed. And I was like, oh my God, you blew my mind with everything that's going on. I'm like, I got to get you on the podcast. So I'm excited for you to be here today. But before we dive into what you got going on down in the Caribbean, which is super fun and exciting, let's share a little bit about who you are, your journey, and where you know, and what got you to the point where you are today.
Sure. First and foremost, thanks for having me, man. I love doing podcasts because I think a lot of people hear similar stuff consistently. And I think what we've got going on is different, and it will spark something in someone's mind today when they're listening to this. And they're like, oh man, I didn't know that was possible. Maybe I need to dream a little bit bigger, or, you know, whatever it is, maybe I could go for that too. And so that's part of the reason why we're here, is to maybe inspire somebody else. As cheesy as that sounds, maybe we'll inspire somebody else to take a little bit bigger risk. But I grew up in the shipping business with my dad, international shipping. I learned sales, like hardcore business to business, door knocking, cold calling. Did not like any of that. I did not like the lead gen aspect. I really love the operations aspect, and I love the sales aspect when you get referrals. That's the best. And so I ran my family shipping business for like 8 years after college. And then I left there in 2012 and started a real estate sales business down here in Baltimore. And quickly, within 3 to 6 months, I was a top producer in the office. I was working 7 days a week, 18 hours a day, banging every door I could. I mean, not liking any of it, but like I needed to get rolling. And so I knew, because of what I learned in my dad's business, that like the business, when you do the right thing and you put your vision out there and you have the right processes and systems, people are very loyal to that and they will refer you. And all I wanted to do is just get that referral business rolling. And to this day, I haven't sold real estate actively since 2021. We still do between, I would say, like $5 to $8 million worth of referrals a year, just from the relationships that we built back then, which is awesome. And so I have some great referral partners all around the country that people trust me to send business out, or they'll call me and go, hey, I have in Oregon or Colorado, do you know anybody? Even though they know I don't work there, they trust me to be able to send them a referral that I vet for them. So I'm like a vetting process. So quickly, like early on in the business, there was something was missing, and I was doing extremely well sales wise and lead generation and revenue wise. And I was miserable, and I just could not figure out why. And the money wasn't helping, and I was golden handcuffing myself tighter and tighter as I increased my unit volume every month or every year. And so the second year in the business, I started really intensely doing personal development training, working on me, because I heard this saying when I joined Keller Williams in 2013, that your business grows to the extent that you do. And I literally, this light bulb went off in my head and I thought, oh my gosh, that's so right. It's me. I'm the problem. No, my ego and my narcissistic mind did not want to admit that. I just had to because I didn't like the way that things were. Yeah, I didn't like the way that things were going. And I just said, it's me. It's not anything else. It's not the government, and it's not the market, and it's not my broker or the other agents or the other brokers. It's me. I'm the problem. And if I can solve me, which I'm in full control of me, if I can figure out the bottlenecks and breakdowns and blocks that are inside of me, maybe my business will grow. Let's test the theory. And it did. One thing that I did to be held really accountable to the stuff that I was learning in personal growth and development was I would go back to my real estate brokerage and I would teach it. Anything I learned, I'd go back, and even if it was 10 minutes and it was one person, I would teach it because I knew that I had to embrace it and I needed to follow it. So from that, a coaching business was born. And I started coaching real estate agents based on the systems and processes that I was building and using to run my business. I was just giving it away to them for free. And then somebody said, I want more. And I said, well, you got to pay for more. And they were like, how much? And I'm like, I don't know, $50, maybe $50. Okay. And then so my team leader at the Keller Williams was like, dude, you make this much per hour selling real estate and you're charging $50 for a month's worth of coaching. What are you doing? Yeah. And so I also realized at that time that I loved doing and then coaching more than I loved just doing. The coaching was like heart led and was like really fulfilling to me. And it still is. I mean, I have a great coaching business today. And so the coaching has always been personal development coaching for the human and business evolution coaching for the business owner. Both have to go hand in hand. You have to be able to grow your business. And so that kind of leads us through. My coaching business grew. I bought a podcast. Well, I ran the Real Estate Rockstars podcast for anybody that knows that one. I ran that for a while with Pat Hyben. Then I bought a podcast in 2020, which that was unheard of. I Googled it and it brought up 0 search results. And I was like, oh, how do you buy a podcast? I don't know. I'm just going to go for this. So I bought this podcast called Men on Purpose in 2020, changed it over to The Irreplaceable Man, then The Irreplaceable Leader, which it still is today. And that's the company's name, is The Irreplaceable Leader. And what we do is formulaic and measurable personal growth and business evolution strategies for leaders, specifically in the real estate industry. I do have a lot of other clients outside of the real estate industry. It's just, I like the real estate industry and I didn't love the sales aspect. And I love the running of the business, building teams, building processes. It's more formulaic, right? It's the formula of how things work, which is what I'm really fascinated by. And it kind of taps into my engineer's brain, and it's been fantastic thus far.
Wow.
And that's how I got into what you and I were talking about.
So you still work today as a realtor and coach? No realtor.
Not realtor.
You're working as a coach and you are still a podcast host as well.
Haven't done the podcast in about a year. Do a lot of other podcasts like this.
But you are working as a coach.
End of 2023, I realized I needed to take a step back from a lot of things like social media. I went dark on social media. I went dark on podcasting. I needed to really find me, the next level of me. And I was stuck. And so my businesses, again, were not doing what I knew that they were capable of doing because of the one aspect that is consistently the variable that slows them or stops them from achieving or getting to what's possible or what they're capable of getting to. So today, my main focus is I'm a fractional CEO and COO for companies that want to grow or scale. And many times when people hire me as a coach and consultant, they wound up bringing me in as a partner to either own or run the business with them at a certain point.
Amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Well, the main reason, and I appreciate you sharing all that, but the main reason why I want to have you on here is what you're doing down in the Caribbean. Because when you started talking about that, I was like, man, not only does this guy have a freaking balls of steel, excuse my language, but it was just outside the box thinking. And I've been in the space for a while, and I know there's other people that do stuff in the Caribbean, like in Belize and different areas, but this was very, very different. And you've turned it from like nothing to something in a short amount of time. So I'm really excited to share this with the audience, and I've been trying to build the suspense, and it's worth it, guys, I promise. But why don't you go ahead now and just tell us everything you're doing down in the Caribbean, because it's amazing.
All right. Dude, wouldn't it suck if I was like, okay, guys, I own a fish hatchery down there. Jeremy built this thing up. It's not that cool. No. All right. So I'll give you a tad bit of backstory. Same thing. Client of mine hired me to help him build a short-term rental business. I built probably 15 short-term rental businesses, so I know extremely well. And we were working on Austin. We were working in Austin and working on building the business in Austin, specifically an arbitrage style business. And for anybody that knew Austin in 2023 and into 2024, it was like the worst market in the country. It was terrible. And so we worked for about 6 months and we just weren't getting traction with anything, dude. We were running ads. We were spending thousands a month. Our processes, our scripting, our lead conversion, everything was dialed in and we just weren't getting anywhere. Yeah. And so I have a very high risk tolerance, because I know that failure is going to come. And I also trust myself in a very high, maybe scary amount, that I know I'll just figure out how to work through it. It's fine. A failure is going to come and it's a given, but I'll work through it and that's okay. So my partner's name is Fritz. And I said to him, dude, this isn't working. Let's move. Let's change cities. And he was like, dude, we just put all this money and all this work in. And I said, look, as a part of my coaching business, I built a brokerage with someone in 2021 down in St. Martin. And I think this area is like real prime for high standards property management and arbitrage and investment, like in real estate investment. And he was like, what? How the hell do you start an international business? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure we can find out. We can figure it out. So you kind of go back to the same processes that worked before, because something works and something's duplicatable in a different market, even if it's international. So I went back to the networking. I took a trip down there and I started tapping into some old people that I knew and started telling people what I wanted and sharing my vision. And by the way, that's a huge piece of this is if you are not ready to share your vision with somebody and like push it like it's something that they need to believe in fast, then your vision might not be there or you might not be ready in terms of confidence. But when you pitch your vision and they see your face and your passion and your confidence, they're like, damn, dude, I want a piece of this. I want to, whatever it is, I want to be in this with you in some capacity. So I just asked for referrals. And I'll tell you right now, one of the biggest reasons why I set my mind on making it work was because everybody told me it couldn't work. Everyone, including great friends of mine, they're like, that doesn't work here. That's not going to work here. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's one person. I think there's probably one person that'll do it there. One person. If I get one, then there's going to be two. Because that person's going to be so happy with my service that he's going to tell his friend. I just know it. I just know it. And if there's two, then there's going to be three. And if there's three, there's going to be six. I just know it. And so I analyzed a lot of data. I analyzed the market. And one thing that I realized, and not to discredit agents down there, but the standards are just not that high for service. And what we provide is a 5-star guest experience without compromise. And we provide a 5-star owner experience without compromise. And so I knew that alone was the barrier to entry. And if we could build the business behind, like to support and strengthen the concept or the vision of 5-star experience without compromise, then I think we have something. And if we don't, then we'll make some tweaks and some pivots and we'll pivot along the way and we'll probably fail at stuff, I'm sure. And we'll pivot away from that. I think that's one of the biggest aspects too, is like, some of the failures we've had down there have been pretty massive. Like the first house we got, arbitrage, $7,500 a month. 4 months in, the thing still has black mold in it. It's a big villa. The owner wasn't doing anything. The agent was terrible. And the owner changed his locks, all of our furniture inside, all of our stuff inside, and said, you're a problem now. Wow. And so we lost it. Like we lost that, just all that work. And the whole team was bummed out. And I was like, this is awesome. And they're like, why? And I said, well, because I'm pretty sure that worse isn't going to happen to us. So we already went through the worst. That means that any fail points from here forward are going to be even better for our learning, for our growth. We have a growth mindset. We have a mindset of curiosity, a consistent mindset of curiosity. We do not let these failures get us down. We just keep moving forward. And that's one thing that my dad taught me is like, dude, you're going to get beaten down every day. But the guys that make it real big are the ones that just keep stepping forward and just stepping into the fire. Like, I know it's going to burn. It's going to suck. Just keep rolling through.
Behind me.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, exactly.
You could take a punch and keep moving, right? I love that. But let's backtrack a little bit because there's still some stuff to unpack here. So you're running an Airbnb management, Airbnb business, and an Airbnb arbitrage, right? You got basically 3 facets of the Airbnb in there.
No, we have 8. We have 8 facets.
Explain all 8 then, please.
I won't tell you about the last 3 because they're coming on.
So tell us about
there's
the first
property
5.
management. Yeah, there's property management and marketing, right? Which is you have to be a marketing company. I talk to so many people that ask me to work with them in their short-term rental or even the long-term rental business, especially short-term rental. You must know marketing. You must know promotion. You must know branding. You have to have messaging down. These properties, they're not just going to sell themselves. And if they do, are you achieving at the level at which you could or is possible for those owners, even for yourself if you're doing arbitrage? Now, sometimes arbitrage makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. But you're also going into a market that has data like on AirDNA or Price Labs that you also don't know that it's as predictable as you want it to be. It's not a U.S. market, right?
Well,
so
that was one thing
market.
I want to talk about. So you're in the Caribbean, but you're not in the U.S. You left Austin, Texas to go into Saint-Martin, which if people don't know about Saint-Martin, half of it's Dutch, half of it's French, right? From France.
Right.
And you talked about the mold. You talked about stuff getting locked up. Like the rules and laws there are very different, right? They're probably even more different than where they are in Holland and the way they are in France, right? And you have to navigate all this stuff. And I know that's part of the learning experience, but that's also very scary. So you leave in Austin, Texas, where if this doesn't happen, the recourse. This doesn't happen here. You have to figure out the recourse, and maybe the recourse is even a solution to your problem, right? You may be SOL like you were with the furniture. So that is a ballsy move in itself.
It's ballsy. I mean, we had to make a decision. Trust me, again, my ego did not want to let that go. It wanted to fight. Now in the States, you call a lawyer, you draft a lawsuit, and you go through that because the justice system, legal system here is a certain way. Down there is a legal system for sure. There's a justice system. It's really good. But it's like, do I want to be that guy? I mean, I'm an American coming in and stirring the market up and making a lot of noise because I talk to cashiers. Dude, I tell my vision to everyone. The cashier at the grocery store, the dude that details my car, like, doesn't matter. They know exactly who I am and what my vision and what my goal is. Because people naturally want to be a part of other people's goals and vision. They want to be a part of helping you achieve because they'll feel something from that. And maybe it'll motivate them to do something themselves. So we have property marketing and management. Again, marketing is massive. And yes, I guarantee you there's going to be people that put in the comments, my Airbnbs, I don't market. I just put them on Airbnb and booking.com and they're good. I'm like, great. But are you in an international market where there's thousands? There's 4,000 in an island that's 30 by 13. It's a postage stamp in the middle of the water somewhere that has, rolling blackouts and internet issues and potholes the size of cars in the road. And there's things culturally that you have to adapt to that you don't even think about. Obviously, I told you I grew up in the international shipping business. So international business is something that I have an expertise in, or at least a lot of knowledge in. So marketing and management are the fundamentals. We also, another barrier to entry was that a lot of the owners, and not to discredit them, they just didn't have the know-how. The design of these properties wasn't up to our standards, most of them. And so what we started offering was a full interior design service where we go in, strip the place out, buy all the furniture, set it all up. And if you go onto our website, like it is, you can see some of our properties are on there. They're a fantasy because you're selling a fantasy. Someone's got to want to Instagram your kitchen or your living room, and someone has to walk in and see it exactly as the pictures depict it because their fantasy starts from the second that they see it online. And they're excited about the way they're going to walk in and what they're going to see and the way that the balcony faces this way and the way this chair is set up, and they're going to imagine themselves. So you're selling a fantasy. So we established that design was going to be a massive element to not only holding our standards, but to also for revenue and an additional revenue stream because people now hire me because I'm the designer, which was not my schooling or my background. I just knew what I didn't like, and it kind of left room for what actually looks pretty good. And people could critique my stuff all day, but look, you're in the Caribbean. You don't need modern. You don't need contemporary. You need coastal. You need local, boho coastal, farmhouse coastal, maybe. You need beach house coastal. You can't go wrong. So I went and I built a bunch of Pinterest boards and I taught myself how to design. Now, granted, I've been a flipper and a developer before, so I was able to do that stuff then as well. But design is a really big aspect, and that's what people call us on today. And they're like, hey, can you just look at my house? Tell me if you think this thing looks good. And I'm like, it looks pretty good, but I'd put a couple more elements here. And maybe we don't even help them with property management, but at least we have that reputation now too.
Sure.
Hi guys, Shelly here. Before we continue with this week's episode, we'd like to take a moment to share an exciting opportunity. If you're eager to achieve financial freedom through real estate investing, check out our coaching programs at REI Freedom. We offer multiple coaching formats and price points, ensuring there's something that works for any investor's budget, needs, and schedule. Whether you're just starting out, looking to scale your deals, or aiming to enhance your team's skills, we have something for everyone. Just go to reifreedom.com/apply to book a discovery call to learn more. Now, let's get back to the show.
So then you've got concierge service as the fourth one. And concierge service is like yacht rental, jet rental, scuba diving trips, ATV rentals, chefs, fulfillment, or like a provisioning like alcohol and food. Just whatever a guest needs to have that 5-star experience, we provide it. And then the next one would be car rentals. So we have car rentals internally. Again, we white label and we partner with a big car rental company down there that we rent a bunch of cars from and have been sending them a lot of business. And we just keep sending them business and we get a little piece of it. And then we have design build as well, just tapping into my development knowledge and expertise from my past life. And people are asking us to do kitchens and bathrooms. And I'm like, yeah, man, we can, we need to do it anyway. If we're going to manage your place and you're going to put this kind of money into the furniture, you shouldn't have a rundown kitchen or bathroom. So we'll gut that thing while we're at it. Then the cool thing is I work with Wayfair. Wayfair does a great job. That's not a plug, by the way. They just are really, really helpful in helping me design and getting us stuff. And so we have a really cool package down there. It's pretty dynamite. I'm excited.
That's amazing. And, what people don't really understand, and some of the people listening do, but some of them don't, is just like when you're working on a small island like that, especially a Caribbean island that is not on American soil, right? Like this isn't St. Thomas or St. John or something like that. But even they have their challenges, right? So you're talking about hurricane season, number one. You're talking about local labor, number two. Talking about getting supplies on an island where stock isn't really there, right? So you got to overcome that. You got to, got to find good workers. You got to find ways to get all the stuff on the island. You got to find a way to keep it all in a price point that makes sense for everybody. So you're managing all these logistics behind the scenes, and then you're getting them rental cars. You're designing. You're getting, concierge service. You're giving them Airbnbs. You're building your management for other people. You're doing arbitrage. You're doing all this on a little island. And how long have you been on this island doing work?
May of last year.
So we're recording this in April of the following year, right? So it hasn't even been 1 year.
No.
So you started with zero. As we stand here 11 months from then recording, where do you stand today with business you got going on down there?
There's so much in the pipeline coming on that we're designing or gotten the kitchens on. It's 60 plus at this point.
60 plus what? Units?
Units.
Yep. And how many people you got on your team at this point?
11, including me.
Wow. And a year ago, this was just, I'm stepping on foot on St. Martin and I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty ballsy, dude.
Yeah, when you put it that way, yes. I mean, I am maybe a glutton for punishment, or I like variety. And so like all that stuff you mentioned, like, oh, but you're designing and you're doing this, you're getting guys a rental car and you're getting this. Yeah, it sounds like a lot. Remember, I run it from Baltimore. Like I don't run it from the island. I run it from here. Yeah. So that's another aspect.
You should be living on the island at this point because it's much nicer than Baltimore. No offense.
Yeah, I should be. I have a family and I like where I live here. And I like making sure that St. Martin doesn't become a chore or like this place that I'm jaded to. And it's still amazing and pretty. And I mean, it's such an amazing island. The people are so nice. It's called the Friendly Island for a reason. That's not a pitch for St. Martin. It is. Everybody's very friendly. I mean, you have assholes anywhere you go. But like when you think about building a reputation, like your reputation can be ruined very fast on an island like that. Like word spreads like wildfire. Everybody knows. Yeah, and they really do. That's not like a joke.
That's
they
a small
really
island.
do. Yeah, it's tiny. It's really tiny. I mean, I think it's like 40,000 people total on the Dutch side out of season, and then like 100 and don't quote me on this, like 110,000 because you got to think it's the best deep water dockage for mega yachts. So tons of mega yachts come in. Jets come in because it's the longest runway, private jets. It's the longest runway in the Caribbean in that area. St. Bart's starts the billionaires' social calendar, which is right next door to St. Martin. And they land their private jets and their yachts on St. Martin and then go over to St. Bart's and come back to St. Martin. St. Martin has an amazing infrastructure, better than other islands. Just not amazing by like US standards, but it's amazing compared to other islands. And the people are great. And I'll tell you right now, dude, the one hinge point that I knew I needed to get right was I needed to find someone that I could absolutely trust without a doubt on the ground. Because what am I going to do? Like make a bunch of calls when cleanings have to happen? Like, I want to scale. I'm not looking for one. And by the way, Fritz and I were looking for 4. We were like, all right, let's just get 4. We'll be really happy with that. Our first property came on, I'm going to tell you, like July of last year. So it actually hasn't even been a year. Conceptually, January of last year, we started this ball moving and just started having conversations and started talking to brokers. But I knew that the ground operation was going to be the most crucial. And if we had that nailed, we'd be good. So we went through and interviewed and worked with a lot of people. Now, the one key to not getting emotional when someone fails you, especially when you're interviewing them for a job, is you are operating by a process. I mentioned it earlier. The processes of your business are the non-emotional piece of your business.
Sure.
They are just line items on a piece of paper and they don't have emotion. And so if you give someone that piece of paper and say, here's 6 line items, get these done in this order, and they don't do them, then the decision or the conversation is very easy with them and unemotional from you because they just didn't get them done. Now, what you look at is, well, did I fail them because my processes failed, or did they not work my processes, or is it a combination of both? So you still have to take something of yours. Sure. And so it happened that like they just weren't working my processes and they just weren't following directions. And I'm like, dude, I have to have somebody. So the first house that we got, I set up a bunch of meetings like in person instead of phone calls. And I said, here's my address. I'll be there at between 1 and 3. It's an open house. Come on by. I'm interviewing. So I was like, literally walked into this giant house. I'm sitting at the dining room table right in the center, and people would walk in. And I remember everybody walking in, like just impressed by the house, and they weren't there for the job there. I think they were there for just like to see what this opportunity was about and whatever. And so out of everybody that I either emailed or hit up on Google on their profile, out of like 25 people, only about 8 showed up, which is pretty normal for the island. And out of those, only 1 person was anybody that I'd want to work with. And so this dude walks in, this big dude, and I'm like, who's this guy? And he's like dressed pretty nice, and he's got like a cool confidence to him. And I'm like, I like this dude already. And he sits down. Everybody else was standing, and I'm sitting at the table. Everyone was standing, and I had to tell him that Edwin walked in, and he was just sat down. And he was like, all right, man, what you need? And I'm like, this and this. I'll pay you. By the way, I was paying people to go out, clean, turn my units. Yeah. And if I don't like you, keep the money. You work for it, keep the money, and I just don't work with you again. So I said, Edwin, here's what I need, dude. Here's my vision. Here's where I'm going. And I need people on this team that understand that I'm the guy that can get them there. And if they want to be a part of this thing, then this is the place to be. And if not a problem, but we'll find somebody that does want to be a part of this thing and go to a place that maybe they didn't even know was possible. And he was like, dude, I'm in. What do I got to do? And I said, well, go clean these couple houses. Let me see how you do. He's the only guy that exceeded my standards, dude. My standards on that process, but my standards were also listed on that process doc. For every room, I have a standard. And he's the only one that came back and actually pressed the sheets so that there were no wrinkles, which is in my mind, but I didn't write it down. So I was impressed. I said, cool, man. Well, you earned your next clean, and you earn your next clean, and you earn your next clean. And I'll tell you right now, I do not like to admit this because it's tough. But like, if it wasn't for him, we would not have this business like this. Yeah. Him and his wife, Tracy, and his whole crew that he's hired, all the cleaning people, maintenance, like he is a crucial aspect of this business. Yeah. And I'm super grateful for him and his whole family. Like he makes so many sacrifices.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right? You need to have rock stars on your team and get them on the right seats in the bus. And, you know, my success would not be where it would be if it wasn't for great people on our team, past and present, right? They all played an integral part of my success. You know, if anybody thinks me and Shelly just did it all by ourselves, they'd be greatly wrong on that. But,
right.
But it's amazing because now you're living in Baltimore and you're running an Airbnb business in the Caribbean in St. Martin, and you're making money in a foreign country from home, sitting at your computer while you're hanging out with your family every day. I mean, that is pretty awesome. That's what I call REI freedom right there.
Well, the freedom part might be up for debate or discussion because I'll tell you right now, yes, it's ballsy. Yes, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on down there right now. And I can tell you that the level at which I operate and work is we break this thing every week. That's the commitment. We break it so that guests and owners don't break it. Yeah. So it's like testing a car or a boat We have to see trial that thing or test drive that thing to break anything we can on it, because we do not want things to break on our guests, because our guests are our like last line. Like if they don't put 5-star reviews up, you're out. Yeah. So we are consistently reviewing that processes, which are like 80 pages at this point.
Yeah.
So we get detailed in terms of where carpets go on the squares, like on the tiles, because most of those floors are tile. Exactly how beds are oriented, exactly how beds are made, exactly how throw pillows go, exactly where our pots go. I can tell you with full predictability that if a guest calls us and says, hey, I can't find the remote, I go, it's at the bottom right of the coffee table next to the fan remote. Every single time, that's where it is.
Process for everything.
Yeah. Process for everything and predictability, because you are in a very unpredictable business. Yeah. You have guests, emotions, they're paying a lot of money. And if it's not predictable, it's a snowball effect. If they can't find the fan remote, then the remote for the TV, then these little Sonos speakers that we have, or where's your pots and pans? They're in the same drawer, in the same place at every house. So we know, and the A team knows. I mean, we have AI that runs guest interaction primarily, which is freaking awesome, but it's a very challenging business. It's really difficult and really fun. Like, I just wanted to have fun in real estate, and I just was tired of not having fun. And so I go to St. Martin maybe once a month for a week. Like last month, I was there for the whole month because we were bringing on a 12-unit hotel. We're looking at a 19-unit hotel. We brought on a bunch of new units. We have a 19-unit development project that we're bringing on that I have to design every unit, right? So like all the interior design's on me. And so it's fun. And I think, in all honesty, and as cheesy as it might sound, the part that's really fun for me is knowing that my vision and my like execution and action, like quick action without a lot of thought process, not that I'm not thought out, but like I take action very fast once I work through a plan and write it out. My plan, goals, whatever, is going to make such a difference in people's lives down there that work for us, or it's going to change, or it is already changing the standards of what people can expect from an Airbnb or a rental unit or a property manager. And it makes me feel really good that like a lot of people are benefiting from this. And it's not just money, right? It's not our ultimate. It's a great factor, and it's a huge measure of the success of a business, but it's not the only one. Like the fact that generations of people on the island will be changed because we were there and we decided to take this risk, that's pretty freaking cool to me.
Yeah, that's really cool, actually. And you've only been at it a year, and you've accomplished a lot in a year. And obviously, you're still in the beginning stages in the grind mode, and that's going to continue for a few more years, if not longer. But it's really going to be cool to see where you are 5 years in, right? Because you've already achieved so much in 1 year, and people, I like to say this a lot, like, you know, in corporate America, you don't achieve too much in 5 years, but in the real estate space, you can accomplish life-changing results, right? Sure. And 4 years from now, I'm sure your life will be greatly changed due to you taking some initiative and some grit and some courage, you know, and some risk, you know, going into a place where nobody else really would. It's amazing. As we wrap up this podcast, you know, knowing what you know now, what's one piece of advice you'd give to somebody who would kind of want to follow suit and maybe start their own Airbnb somewhere on a Caribbean island somewhere?
There's a lot of pieces of advice, man. I've learned so much. Remember, I had done this a lot before. I was pretty experienced with building Airbnb businesses. Get your vision out on paper, read it over and over, and tweak it until it makes you real nervous, like real nervous, to where you think that it might not be possible. And that's the vision you execute on, because the gap between that vision and where you are currently is your personal growth. That's it. It is literally inside of you. And so I think that's probably the best piece of advice, because I don't think about the risks like most people would. I don't think about all these big aspects. I just am tunnel vision. I have this very clear understanding of where I'm going, and I know what I need to get there. And there's really nothing that stops me. It's very compartmentalized. So I wrote this vision out until it made me nervous. And I said to Fritz, I'm like, then this is what we execute on. And he was like, are you freaking serious? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like, make a bunch of mistakes and like, we'll just be back to where we are. So like, what if it works? And he's be pretty awesome if it works. And I said, great, then let's become the people that can make it work.
Yeah.
And you must hire the people that can make it work. And he's like, sounds pretty simple. And I said, it's actually going to be very simple, dude.
It's always simple. It's just really hard.
Yeah, right. Always simple at the same time. I'll tell you right now, man, it is not a logistics challenge. It's a people challenge.
Sure.
It's everybody has to grow to the level at which the business is now growing. The business has grown
hospitality now. So
dude, fast. And so we all have to grow extremely fast to be the leaders and the operators of this business. Simple as that.
If people, let's just say people listening, have money and they're looking to be a lending partner and they would say, hey, Ian, I want to get involved in whatever you're doing down there. I have some capital. I want to work with you to try to get some, some return on my investment. How can you use my money? They want to contact you that way. Or as you was talking about, being a fractional COO, what is the best way for people to reach out to you, connect with you on either one of those aspects?
My email, ian@covecasa.com, COVECASA. Oh, sorry, .co. ian@covecasa.co.
Okay, we'll put that in the show notes. Well, Ian,
super easy, man. The fractional CEO stuff or COO stuff is really fun for me. So I always tell people who want to put money in, maybe you don't want to invest with us. Maybe you actually want to go invest for yourself and hire us to come in and give you our entire playbook. I mean, we're like a McDonald's, dude. We franchise this thing. Yeah. We'll come in and run the whole playbook for you. We don't see competition down there. We're our own competition. So more the merrier.
Save all that information. I think we'll have you on another episode where we'll deep dive into the COO stuff. But I wanted to talk about the St. Mon stuff, but we are running long, so we got to wrap this up. But Ian, dude, great stuff today. Really appreciate you being a guest on the podcast, and I hope you inspired a lot of people as well.
I hope so too, man. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. All right, guys, that is this week's episode. A long one, but a good one. You know who to contact when you want to go to St. Mon. This is the guy. And just another example of the variety and ability in real estate investing. There's so many ways to build a life of freedom doing what you want to do. It doesn't have to be one way. It could be multiple ways. It can be any way. Find the niche that excites you the most, because that's going to be the one that you are going to be able to get the best results out of and deal with overcoming the most headaches from. So thanks again for listening to this podcast. We'll see you guys next week. And remember, don't stop working every day to build a life of freedom through real estate investing, just like we have. See you next week, guys.
Join us on our journey to achieve ultimate freedom through real estate investing. We understand that the road to success isn't easy, but together we can overcome any challenge. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us grow and reach more aspiring individuals. Visit our website to access additional resources and join our email list. Follow us on social media at REI Freedom for more updates. If you're interested in our acquisition coaching programs, visit reifreedom.com for more information. Let's go.